Hi guys, I'm Daddy Freeze, convener of the Free the Sheeple movement and leader of the Free Nation in Christ. I greet you and I bring glad tidings. I'm here to talk about two things today, the typical Darwinian paradigm and herd immunity. As the raging COVID-19 pandemic begins to hit the shores of Africa, I want to warn us and at the same time prepare us for what's coming. With 27,000 deaths in the UK and 62,000 deaths so far in the US, they weren't prepared, despite their working healthcare systems. We don't even have a working healthcare system. And neither are we prepared psychologically, emotionally, mentally. So I'm worried right now. Their economy is going to take a blow, a huge blow. Our economy has already been taking blows for the last 10 years. Bad leadership, the dwindling oil prices, the fact that we have really nothing much else but this oil that is dwindling. And now COVID-19 is about to hit. I was reading in the newspapers today that Access Bank is going to let go of its staff. Be prepared, guys. This is just the beginning. Oil companies too are going to let go of their staff and cut salaries while they're at it. Many sectors are going to close up completely, and the Hunger Games are about to begin. But here's what I have to tell you, my dear people. Our lives have been governed by our economy up until now. We've taken economic decisions, not to favor the populace, but to favor a few. And we're going to continue taking economic decisions like the US and the UK are taking right now. Because in my opinion, they have no business opening up. In my opinion, they've taken a decision. Weigh the pros and the cons and maybe come to the realization that this thing cannot take away more than 5 to 10% of their population. So why risk the economy? Same thing I believe is happening in the UK. I do not want that to happen in Nigeria. I do not want us to gamble our lives for money. We've done that all this while. We've thrown money into religion, hoping we will be blessed, but look at where we are right now. Religion has failed. The tithing system has failed, especially with the fact that we tithed believing God was going to open the windows of heaven, which have been closed simply because we refuse to follow heavenly principles which ensure that there's seed before harvest, and seed is the work we put in before the harvest. The scriptures say Isaac sowed in that land. Remember, Isaac worked, he planted. He didn't give religion money, he didn't give a priesthood money. What he did was he worked, and when he reaped 100-fold. For you to be blessed, you've got to work, and we've neglected to work. And right now, we don't want to lose our economy, but is it really worth losing our lives? Herd immunity, let's start with that, is the resistance to the spread of a contagious disease within a population that results from sufficiently high proportion of individuals in that population which are immune to the disease, especially through vaccination, which I'm going to come to, but also it can be achieved naturally, like we have the case of the 1918 influenza pandemic. To achieve herd immunity naturally, 500,000 people died in Nigeria alone in the 1918 pandemic. Do we want to lose 500,000 people? If 500,000 people die, there's no way a member of your family is not going to go. Some people are going to lose more than one member of their families. Then eventually herd immunity will kick in and people will be protected, blah, 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 blah. But it wouldn't happen until we have enough losses. Second thing I want to talk about is a typical Darwinian paradigm: natural selection. Survival of the fittest originated from the Darwinian evolution theory as a way of describing the mechanics and the mechanism of natural selection. Survival of the fittest. The fittest isn't all the time the most intellectually sound. Most of the time, it's the natural fittest. People like Steve Hawkins are not particularly fit physically. Their fitness lies in their brains, and their brain power is the foundation upon which a lot of work, including the work of future generations, is going to be built upon. We've got to be careful with that. We don't want to lose the few intellectuals we have and have strong but unintellectual surviving this. Are we going to risk the loss of lives because we must save our economy that we mismanaged? Nigeria has been a rich country since 1960. Oil came and now it's going. Dubai had oil. They used it to build a future in tourism. As oil is going, they've got their tourism. Same thing with Saudi Arabia. Oil just came as a visitor and left us in Nigeria. We didn't hold on to its apron strings. We didn't take anything from it. We just partied with oil as a guest in our nation. And now oil is going. What we need right now is innovation. We need, I wouldn't say we should abandon prayer, but we need to set aside religion. No developing country in the world, in the history of the world, developed because it was religious. None. But religion is what we hold on to. And religion has become a business. And those making money from religion are going to take business decisions on your lives, not moral decisions. They're not going to want to lose their economies, so they're going to gamble your lives and hope eventually herd immunity sets in. If not, let the typical Darwinian paradigm, using natural selection to filter out the weak, just so that the economy might be sustained. I do not subscribe to that. God asked Cain, where is your brother Abel? And God is going to ask you, where is your brother? If you take decisions based on your finances or the economy and finances of this country, instead of decisions based on humanity, you're only doing what you're blaming Bill Gates for. With your own hand, you want to depopulate the world and then hold on to Bill Gates. And you make Bill Gates out to be the villain. Meanwhile, you are the villain. You're the villain because you squandered your nation's economy. You're the villain because you put religion in the place of work. You're the villain because you sold out your birthright several times over. You're the villain, finally, because you refuse to be orderly. There's no bus conductor in the UK. From time to time, you have bus inspectors that get on the buses to see your tickets. But they don't hang out of a bus shouting, Obalinde, Obalinde, Obalinde. You'd see a double-decker bus with 60 people driven by one driver who takes the payment of everyone getting on the bus, whether it's an Oyster card, whether it's a bus pass or all-day ticket. One person handles all the transactions and doesn't need to shout, because you get into the bus stop, all you need to do is know which bus you are going with and look up and you see that bus. Here in Nigeria, to manage 10 people in a bus, you need 2 people. So I'm using that as a yardstick. To manage every 10 to 12 people, you need 2 people. It's not sustainable. We need to learn personal orderliness. Drive to the Lekki toll and you will see for yourself how people cannot line up in a straight line and wait for their turn. And what makes this worse off is the same poor and downtrodden, the bosses, the downfalls, who would still come back tomorrow and blame the government. Meanwhile, staying in a queue is a problem for them. We need to start with that bus driver. If you cannot stay in a queue, you cannot obey social distancing. So what you're doing is you're pushing your society towards the Galapagos Islands Charles Darwin used for his experiments. We're not animals. We're not witless, senseless animals. We're living beings of spirit and soul and flesh and essence. And we're going to live like animals because we refuse to plan and think and be orderly. As this lockdown eases out, everyone needs to be careful. Obey instructions, stay in a line. If you see someone who's not in a line, make them stay in a line. Obey social distancing. You are your brother's keeper. The blood of your brother is in your hands. Don't spill it. I want to take this a little further. We can survive this. We will struggle economically for a while, but we can survive this. And we don't need to die en masse to come out of this. If only we can be orderly. God bless us all.